All right, all right. We're live. I've just also shared the stream into the Discord. So some people that are watching the Discord right now, I'm gonna wait a little minute for them to join as well so they can get their questions answered. And I did think this live stream was necessary because I got a lot of questions about XPL and Aster, also because I've made a lot of videos about those lately for possible opportunities, possible downsides, possible trading scenarios. Well, and when the market makes a big candle like this and we cannot break structure towards the upside, then the inevitable is there, and that is it's down until proven otherwise, and we can expect a correction. That also in combination with our Bitcoin that we were expecting lower, of course. So we had all of those confluences aligned that we were going to see some bearish price action today. Well, I did have some long scenarios pointed out in a few charts like XPL, Avantis, excuse me, Aster. I mean, those long opportunities were not given. We did not manage to break structure on the lower time frame. I'm also going to show you in real time in just a bit. But if the market doesn't decide to get the change of character into the point of interest that you want, then you are just gonna go lower. Mm. So in just a second, I am gonna go over Bitcoin. Quickly see what Bitcoin is doing to sketch the bias for today as well. Money Booster Academy. Let's go, Cage. What's up, brother? Good to have you in the stream, man. This must have came from a notification. Notifications on. All right. Yeah, I felt necessary that I had to put on the stream, and that is because, of course, lately I've been making a lot of videos about Aster, XPL, Avantis, and we've just had a big drop down from them. So there's a lot of panic right now with a lot of people. I even got questions on YouTube, like I invested 5K at, for example, Aster on $2. I'm minus 2 to 3K right now. What should I do? Well, what I have to say for the people, you should not have even been in that situation in the first place. Because if you had an invalidation point, then you would have just been stopped out with your stop loss, which is just trading, right? If you just buy and hold a coin, you need to be prepared to lose everything you have put in that coin just because you have faith and you have no invalidation point while putting your money in that coin. Where's my... Oh, here it is. Okay, great. So that is what I have to say about those people. Um, they've dug their own hole basically. So if you ask me what should those people do, they should either take their losses and run home and now always trade with an invalidation point, or just never put random money into a random project or whatever. Or they should leave it be there and they have the chance to lose everything because that's also what you're willing to do when you're just putting money into a crypto coin without a invalidation in there. You're just expecting that to go to the moon, but you're not keeping in mind the scenario that if it does go to zero, you will lose all your money. That is why we are trading. That's why I am a trader. I have my invalidations. That's why, for example, would I have taken a long here, which for the record is not here. It wasn't never here. Well, maybe over here, but that's not the point. The point is, if I did place a trade here, I would have put my stop loss below the low. I would have made sure I wouldn't lose more than 1 to literally a maximum of 3% of your wallet per trade. This way, you don't have that much risk exposure in every trade. It doesn't matter if you lose, you're in the game for the long run, and that's how also you want to manage your trading wallet, your capital. You want to manage it, and you're going to trade with that capital for the next 50 years, for example. Okay, enough said about that part. Now, let's get into some technicals because I think you're all here for the technicals. But it's just something I had to be said because a lot of people were asking me questions about that. So, looking at Bitcoin right now, um, I've already said it in the Discord as well, but I don't like the way we're building up. If there is really whales, big people stepping into Bitcoin here oops, to start pushing the price up with a lot of aggression, where are they? Where are the traps that they have placed to push price higher? Well, it's nowhere near that yet. What we have done is we have a huge liquidity trail. Retail people buying, 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 buying. That means a lot of stop losses will become below these lows. That's also why I'm not prepared to long Bitcoin, because this does not look sustainable to me. I want to wait for the masses to be stopped out. So I want to see a lot of buyers getting lured into the market, which is happening right now, and then sweep all of those buyers. Say bye bye to retail, and then when we have taken out those lows, the market makers, the big people, have the opportunity to fill up their orders. That doesn't mean they have to fill up their orders. They have the opportunity to. So, how can you identify if they are filling up orders? Well, if we do start to go below this point, you will see a reaction and we will trade above all the liquidity that we have just created. Because if it's true that they are willing to fill up orders here, they need to start protecting them as well. And that means gaining your old low and holding support at your old liquidity. And that's when you have a little bit of those signs from, okay, market makers could be stepping in here and we need to start trading with them. But those are just scenarios, those are just thought processes. And um, we will still have to see if price action does it because we can just break out of here as well, come back up, reject, and continue our downtrend. So, the trader, you need to sketch in scenarios, you need to be prepared for, I would say, the unexpected, because just as in Aster, on the coin Aster, we were prepared. We were ready to take possible longs here with this accumulation forming. While a member of the Discord did actually take a long here, well, you had a nice ride of a few percentages towards the upside. Well, 10% is a lot, but it's a move enough to get a good risk to reward out of it. Um, but what I also said is if we never start to manage to break good structure, for example, today, right here, this was another long point of interest for mine. I was willing to take a long here if the market decided to show strength. I wanted to see big players step into the market and push price up. If you don't get that, we don't get that, and we're just going to continue the dump. That means we need more liquidity from our lows before we can start trading towards all of this liquidity on the highs, which my eyes are on these um, three triple equal highs at all-time highs there. And also because if you take a look at the 4 hour, We could easily expect a correction from here. And why is that? Because if we take a look at market structure, it's literally the basics. We have a high and we have made a low. This low caused price to move towards a new higher high, meaning we are in an uptrend. And what can we expect after creating a higher high? That is a follow through on your uptrend. So we can expect a higher low for another higher high. Where's that higher low going to be? We don't know yet unless we start breaking significant structure or building some sort of accumulation. So we could even go all the way towards the bottom here, 1.28, even sweep it, and then even go for the higher high. Because that is our expectation order flow. Our expectation order flow is not to bounce from here. Yes, we have a great point of interest, and yes, we managed to take a good long here where we took out some profits, but wasn't the trade towards the all-time high. We could still expect upside, but now a lot for that has to need a lot for Aster to reach all-time highs again. There's a lot that needs to be happen before doing so. That is because this is what I wanted to hold, because this is, I would call it your rise up point. This is the last pullback before you gain structure and push towards all-time highs. So I really wanted to hold this zone if we were that aggressive to follow through towards some more highs. But we filled this zone. That means this demand flips. It now becomes a breaker. The support it had here is now gone and it becomes resistance. That's when a breaker comes into play. But you can also call this a supply, that is sure. But in technical terms, it is a breaker. But it has the same function as a supply. So to quickly talk about Aster, what is next? Of course, I've said this in my videos as well. But it appears we are looking for liquidity on the lows before we can start trading towards the highs. Well, that's another point of marking your point of interest. We have this liquidity low. The market could test it right here and actually get that reaction up. So we need to start thinking in advance. Where could price be heading next? Well, we know it's searching for liquidity of the lows. Maybe even this was enough liquidity that we can see some sort of accumulation form manipulation and continue up. Could also be the case, but we'll have to wait for price action to develop because right now this is the pullback that brought you all the way towards new lows. When do we become a little bit bullish on the lower time frame? Is when we start to gain it. But as long as we do not gain this high right here, we will never be able to see that upside, and expected order flow is just going to be a lower high for a new lower low. Everything between this low and this high is going to be noise. And that's also what you have to realize. This internal trend doesn't say much because our expected order flow is still going to be down here. So I am expecting more downside on Aster, also in combination with this huge breaker we have in the chart now. So it all doesn't look that great, I would say. Um, we need to be patient. After a big move like this, you should not touch the chart. You should not think, oh, is there opportunity now? And there was someone in the Discord, um, Chichi, if I say your name right, if you are in the stream, you should ask your question in the chat here, because that way we can interact with each other and I can find an answer for you. So is a big dump opportunity? In this case, definitely not. We need to be patient. Free Rich King, what's up, my G? Welcome back to the stream again. Good to have you, man. Good to see some familiar faces again, or faces, names, I would say. All I'm seeing is a screen. Yeah, that was basically Aster for me. I do not need to make it any more complicated than it is. I've just talked about a little of local structure, about expectancy of a few charts, but it's down until proven otherwise. We can expect price to start to reject here and continue lower unless it's proven otherwise. If we do get something like this, we create a new low, but we start to gain. We have reasons to believe we could expect a higher low for a new higher high. How are we going to do so? With local confirmation to trade towards the highs. But anyways, Esther, patience. I'll drop another update in the Discord tomorrow. For the people that are not in the Discord yet, let me quickly share that link in the chat because it's an absolutely free Discord. For any questions, you can ask there and we will be able to help you. I'm certain of it. So let me just pin that. Great insight. Thank you, Mino. We'll have a call in a bit as well after this stream. Um, Topika Choppy, if I say it all right in its Dutch English. Um, Hello, some thoughts on XPL, please. We're going to check it out. Um, I've clearly said when I uploaded the video today, I think the price was right here. We could have some opportunity here or not. Once again, the same thing as Aster. Because we traded below such a big liquidity point, the market makers have the opportunity to start filling their orders and pushing price up. But then again, there comes the trick. They don't have to. If they're not prepared to fill up orders here and they need more liquidity from the lows, we will continue our trend down. Unfortunately, I did not manage to take a short on here because I said I was prepared to take a short if we did not reclaim this old low here. And also, if we never reclaimed this old low, we could expect lower price action on XPL. Just front ran our point of interest to took shorts from, so my alert never went off and I did not take a look at it. Then XPL for now. Mr. The Chartsmith in the chat. Welcome, brother. Good to have you. We will also talk about a few things in a bit, Chartsmith. I am gonna make this stream kind of short, maybe maximum of 20 more minutes. It would depend on the animo there is right now for possible chart requests. So if anyone has a chart request, then you can ask it in the chat as well. And I will be able to pick that up and look for you live while analyzing the coin you have requested. But for now, XPL, what am I expecting? What am I waiting for? Well, there is a famous phrase in the in our Discord, and that is down until proven otherwise. And I'm gonna say this again because if you take a look at the 1 hour, this is the pullback that brought us to new lows. So when can we start expecting upside? When we break that high. And as long as we stay below that high, our expectational order flow is to continue that downtrend towards new lows. So I am still bearish on XPL unless we can start to gain our hourly 30 minutes downtrend at the moment because we're creating lower lows and lower highs and we can expect nothing less from the market unless it's proven otherwise. So if it's proven otherwise, we want to see the high be broken that brought us all the way towards this new low. So we want to see a change of character. After that change of character, our expected order flow has switched. We have now created a higher high And what can we expect after higher highs? We can expect higher lows following more higher highs. That's not the case now. I see we disrespected this little zone we had, so I'm going to remove it as well. Um, what is actually not bad about XPL right now is that we stopped at this 0.3. This is my maximum limit for a deviation of a range. So what could still happen here is we could create a range all the way in here. We could start to manipulate, fill up orders, and then continue up. But there's nowhere near of any signs of that at the moment, but it is another scenario that I'm going to be watching. So we want to see a local range get created. And if you are interested about range trading, then we do have a free lesson in the Discord. But if you have a range, high to low, this is now a confirmed range. If we do something like this, deviate the low, create a bit more liquidity, take out more liquidity, and then go up. Or what I'm saying is, I want to see market makers accumulate on XPL. There's no sign of that now, so I'm going to stay bearish unless something like this pops up in the chart. But for now, it's down only on XPL, and I'm expecting us to go towards the 90 cents or something. Unless we could start to trade above this $1 mark really aggressive, but then again, the $1 mark doesn't say anything because our structure is pointing down. And we also do not have a lot of interaction yet around the $1 mark, so I wouldn't really call it a great support and resistance. Any thoughts on AVAX? Let's take a look at AVAX. It was pretty interesting how man, what a mess. How AVAX performed lately because it started outperforming, then it deperformed again. There was a lot of weird things I would uh, going on with AVAX. Weird price action in comparison to the rest. So let me just start by removing all of this mess because we need to make it clear. Okay, so AVAX. Firstly, we want to recognize where is AVAX coming from. And on the higher time frame, that is really interesting. Thank you, sir. Learned something new today. That sounds to music in my ears because I like to learn something new to a lot of people and especially involved when it's within trading because trading is such a big passion of mine. Even after 4 to 5 years, it doesn't get boring. It's always magical to see your analysis and your trade play out the correct way. So where is AVAX coming from? I don't want to make these analysis too long, but I do want to give a little bit of context. This was the last pullback that, not all-time lows, but that brought you all the way towards new lows and creating a new low. So you could say if you manage to break it, that means in this area right here, in this down move, a lot of strength came through. Sellers were in control, making a lower low, but buyers took over and breaking that part again. So it makes sense for price. If price comes back into this area, then we could expect a reaction up because the people that have previously pushed AVAX up here, if price comes back there again, are the market makers, the big players, wanting to defend their orders again to push price up? Well, if you look to the right, the answer is yes. We had a range here, we had a 3-tap model, what I'm always talking about with ranges, and we absolutely started blasting from there. When price was right here, I was a little bit skeptic about AFAX because we took down all of our liquidity and we started compressing. When we're compressing, the market does not know what it wants to do, so it builds liquidity on both sides. So my expectancy when price was right here was to manipulate towards the downside, take out all this liquidity on the lows, test your market maker demand, and then continue towards the upside. That never happened. Then the other scenario is the other way around. Take out the high, reject, and go towards the lows. Also didn't happen. So we just broke through this pennant. We need to remember, if the market leaves our lows open and we keep moving up, we still need liquidity from the highs, and we're going to leave our liquidity on the lows open. It turns out we needed to test this supply. And I also said in earlier streams, if we do start to flip this level here, the green level, then it's an easy trade towards $35. It's from a stream from a while ago though, but it's all online there. Um, but that said, over the little bit of context about TA, I can know myself I'm going a bit too deep into it. It can get complicated when we're going into it too deep. So I want to stay with a lot of the basics here. So basically, if we look at the 3-day, this is your last pullback that brought you all the way towards new highs. What is your expected order flow? I can already hear Mino say, that's another higher high, and you're correct. If you have made a higher high, you can expect a higher low and new higher highs from there. So what can we expect on AFAX? I think we can just expect more upside because we didn't need this liquidity to move up. This can act as support to continue this expected order flow. So that's where I have this zone drawn in. It's around $26 to, well, let's say $23. And I'm willing to look for longs if price returns to that. Now, I must say the 4 hour with this wick here, it's an absolute mess. Well, you can read minds too. I mean, you have to do a little bit of mind reading while you're trading, right? You need to know that all of the masses are going to long here. All of the masses are putting their stop losses there. So I can read minds a little bit. Coming over to this local part, I would say straight away, I do not want to trade this. This looks ugly to me. I think there are better pairs to trade which do not have a wick down here. That's what I would straight away say because you have much more beautiful pairs that you can trade and that are more convincing to go in the direction that you have sketched it in to go. But if I do wanted to analyze this, then I would say I need this wick to be gone. So I would wait for this wick to get taken. Even though on the lower time frame we've started to trend up, like this, even here, made us new lows, we gained it, indicating our trend has switched. We can look for a higher low between these 2 points. Well, that's exactly what we've got. We've even front ran our point of interest. This is your demand because this is the last time price pushed down, making new lows while your trend was still bearish. But buyer stepped in and said, no, we are going to push the price up. And we actually had never tested it back. So you can call this inducement. I do not want to go too much in that word. But what is it telling me? That this low is left open for later. This makes a great liquidity point to take out and then start trading up because this is untested. So even though I wanted this wick to be gone, I also wouldn't mind us going towards this zone and then getting a reaction from it. That is because the liquidity that we need could already be here. We have traded aggressively above this high right here. So what are people expecting? A higher low for new higher highs. Exactly, and that is valid, but because this is open and you have a demand left open, it's more of a probability that we are going to take that out. So the people that have wanted to continue this trend, their stop losses are going to be are going to be below this low. So what does that mean? That means it's an interesting point for the market makers to possibly trade towards to, stop all of those longers out, and then continue our move up. So yeah, that's a little bit about AFAX. I can always tell when I'm live streaming, I'm just going on, telling everything what I see. In the videos I do record, I try to make it more compact, more simple. But when I'm streaming, literally everything that's going through my mind, I'm straight away telling. It's a bit of a habit I need to work on. But point is, point of interest for longs and point of interest for longs and point of interest for longs. R, welcome to the stream, brother. Hey, what would you say on Aster at the moment? In this stream, I have already been through Aster, but I can make it quickly by saying a few sentences at the moment. And that is down until proven otherwise. We are again against huge resistance, which is this whole breaker block. And we have no signs of any people that are trying to push the price up. So that is Aster in three sentences. Um, it's looking like downside from now on. We need liquidity from the lows, so that's exactly where the market plans to trade towards. It can either be here, or we can create that liquidity ourselves, but we'll have to wait for price action to develop that. So that's Aster in a nutshell. Because it's such a nasty wick, I do not want to draw in a range with it because they tend to not get respected really well, and that just comes with experience. Yeah, this is pretty much AVEX in a nutshell. If this zone doesn't hold right here and we break below it, it's the same as Aster. Your demand becomes a breaker block, so supply, and we can expect all of this liquidity to get taken. But for now, holding $25 means upside on AVEX. Okay, I'm not gonna make the stream that much longer, so if there's any questions about certain charts, then go ahead and ask me, or the way I analyze. If you don't understand anything, then you could also tell me. And now it's time for hype. I need to leave the charts within a little bit of excitement here. Okay, hype. Haven't really drawn this in, but I know the Chartsmith has made a video around about this, and looking at the weekly time frame, we could definitely expect upside if we manage to hold this low. Looking at the 3-day time frame, we can also expect upside because this is our push towards new highs. We just wicked below it. This is going to be a quote. The wicks do the damage and the bodies tell the story. So this is not a valid break of structure. Even if you look at, yeah, the daily, it's over here that brought us towards new lows. So when price comes back there, we could definitely expect some resistance. But for now, it's looking like we've got a massive sweep of a bunch of liquidity. And if this was enough liquidity To trade higher, we are going to leave this low open, make a higher low, and continue. So let's take a look at the lower time frame. This is um, a good bottoming out pattern because you have those three taps indicating possible market makers have pushed the price up from here, also tapped into that nice demand where we got that reaction from. From there, we're just following our trend. So you could also say if we manage to hold this low right here, we could still expect a higher low for new higher highs, especially how price is leaving behind here. There's just bunch of liquidity and I do not directly see any market maker involvement in pushing the price down. Then I want to know why is price holding here? What's going on the lower time frame? This is what we're holding right here. That is because this brought you to new lows, we've gained it, and this is our first hold of this whole expansion up. And it's just a block where sellers tried to still push price down, but buyers said no, and we kept on pushing up. Well, we're holding support there. I can also see we have created a range here where we have our first possible deviation of the range, which indicates possible market makers could be stepping in. And remember, we all did this when we first took a look at the market structure. We have identified we are in an uptrend, so we know we could expect that higher low for the higher high. So from all this mess right here, you pretty much only have to look at these two lines at the moment. This is what will tell you next. You have now sketched in a bias by looking at the higher time frame. And now we can look locally for entries. We know we want to look up. So let's see what's going on. Great deviation. Let's extend our range. Take a look at 5 minutes. I dislike the amount of price action we have created here. We have created that price section here, but just big pump up. And this is also big bump down. So we do not have a lot of information right here yet. What we could say, this brought us to new lows. It did not bring us to that range low, but this brought you to new lows. So if we manage to get a clear gain on that candle right there, we could expect potential upside on hype and look to trade towards this higher low for new higher high, or at least on the higher time frame, the higher low for the higher high. This is still what brought us to new lows. So we need to see some type of accumulation here before taking any trades. Um, 5 minutes look convincing? Absolutely not. 50 minutes, there's literally nothing going on. But if you zoom in too much at the 1 minute, you could get easily trapped. This is 1 minute trading. I wouldn't advise it straight away to anyone because it does require a lot of skill, I would say. It's you could easily just trade on the 5 minute and go on from there. The 1 minute is just a different breed. Okay. Um, well, normally you would say if you break the high that took you to new lows, you can expect a higher low for new higher highs. But is this really that convincing? Yes, we have opened and closed a candle above that high, but is this still convincing? Absolutely not. We've just managed to reach a little bit above here, which could just indicate a liquidity hunt. Also, this is the part that brought you up, so you wanted to bounce from here to continue that trend, which people have tried but failed, so you're going lower, and locally we can still expect this trend to go down. Do we have equal lows here? No, they're not equal lows. This could have been real beautiful if price action did a few different things, but right now it's getting pretty messy. You are ready to build your third liquidity low while you haven't even gained something significantly. Let's check it out. Yeah, and this is also your last price action before you really dumped them down. We're just combination with its support and resistance. Oh, I'm lagging a bit. Um, I do want to wait for long here. We came down with a bit too much of aggression. If we kept this trend liquidity building up while coming down, this definitely could have been interesting, but we were against major resistance here. Yeah, I don't like how we formed of how we're forming at the moment. No, need to wait for PA to develop, maybe grind up a bit, go down one more time while building a few liquidity highs, and then get your change of character and your expansion up. But it's just it doesn't look convincing to me that this is going to be the bottom here. You could also say this is great resistance, and that is because you could see this is. We can better look at it on a bit of a little, yeah, on a bit of a lower time frame. Before we reached all-time highs, or at least broke new structure, this was our last pullback doing so. So buyers stepped in here to create new all-time highs. That means you pretty much, if your trend is strong, you want price to bounce from there. That didn't happen. So this becomes a breaker and you're in resistance. And then when you're looking at this, you're thinking, okay, I need to watch out with my long positions here. It's still the same for me. If we do the things we need at hype, um, we could possibly take a trade there today or in a few hours. But at the moment, it's just not there yet. Quickly squeeze at these ones. It also doesn't align with Bitcoin, right? I mean, we expected price to go lower here. That's what we are doing. And if Bitcoin does go lower, then hype goes out the window. And that scenario we've just pointed out is not going to be great. But you can already see Bitcoin, this is not going to be your bottom by building all of this liquidity. It's no market maker involvement or anything to push the price up. So it's most likely that you'll fill. Quickly take a look at the NASDAQ. Well, this is shitty PA today. I'm gonna ask you all guys one more time if there's any chart requests that you do have or any other questions, then feel free to ask them. And if not, then I'm gonna end the stream here. I have a few calls to make. So if anyone responds within let's do 10 seconds from now on, then you'll get the chart request. And if not, then I'm gonna end the stream here. It's not really a stream that I had been eyeing. Didn't go as planned as I would have. Would have loved it more to just analyze a few things and pointed out some high time frame scenarios. But I think I went a lot in education at the moment, clarifying certain things, making certain things clear, and I guess that's what this stream also was for then. Thanks for the stream, and no problem, Mino. We'll speak to each other in a little bit, and I will see you all in the next stream. I hate that most coins rely on Bitcoin movement. Yeah, true, but if the setup is there on a crypto coin, then I'm still taking it despite Bitcoin because alts can move differently, and we've seen lately that they are moving differently because of Bitcoin dominance coming down a bit and that. So if I have a god setup on an altcoin, then trust me, I won't take Bitcoin into consideration of taking that trade. If the trade is good on the alt, if your story is great on the altcoin, then you should take it despite looking at Bitcoin. All right. I'll see you all in the next streams and I'll talk to you all in the Discord. See you there. Peace.